o'clock. We call this June meeting of the Indiana Borough Council to order. You all rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Palazzo. DeBowser. Ford. Frick. Herring. Kratza. Lancaster. Noel. Smith. Steelman. Here. Taylor. 9 present, 3 absent.
Additions or changes to the agenda? In your packet, you have the minutes of the May council meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Second. Those minutes. All in favor of approving the May minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. You also have the minutes of the May work session. Is there any discussion of those minutes? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. And we also have the financial report for April. Is there a motion to approve that?
Move to approve.
Of the May financial report, the April financial report. Seeing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. And now we come to that point in the meeting where we invite the public to address the council. If there's anyone who would like to address us, the rules are, you step to the podium, say your name and address so that we can have it on record, and limit yourself to 3 minutes, please.
My name is Kim Akins. I live at 4212 Airport Road in Indiana. I come tonight as a mom and a grandma to ask you to reconsider hosting the Drag Queen Fest this weekend. Most people, like myself, only heard of this event after you voted to allow it. This event is not appropriate for all ages. Therefore, should not be allowed in our town square in view of all to see, anyone that's passing by. This event is sexual in content. It is not appropriate for our children. Always do our very, very best to protect the most innocent and impressionable among us, our children. Any event that is sexual in content should be banned from our town square. This is a public place and therefore must be governed by the strictest of rules to protect all. It's not too late to do the right thing and ban this event. And that's what I'm asking you to do for the sake of our children and our grandchildren and the future of this community. Thank you.
Bill Murphy, 665 Georgetown Village. I would like to ask respectfully that you rescind the invitation for the Drag Queen Fest. It can be done. There's no reason you can't. And to have perversity center stage in our community is not helpful for families, kids, or anyone else. You would not, I think, allow white supremacist group to stage their event. to take one extreme example, you would have many instances where you would simply say no. And so there's no good reason to foist this upon our community. It's perversity. Oftentimes it's blasphemous, and it should not be tolerated. It should not be made public, and I simply ask you to rescind the invitation. If you're fearful of a lawsuit, there are more than a few legal institutions that are willing to free of charge protect you in that way and carry forth your defense if that were to happen. So I'm simply saying, for the good of our community, for the good of our families, for the good of our children, that you rescind this invitation to them. Thank you.
My name is Mary Lou Silba. I live at 5569 Route 56 in Brush Valley. I am here also about the upcoming drag queen event. And the one thing I want to mention is that for every person that speaks against something like this, who voices their opinion, we represent probably thousands. And that I know because when we contact our elected officials, they know for a fact that for every letter, every phone call that they get, especially statewide and our U.S. Representatives and senators, they know exactly just how many people that represents. Most people are too busy or too timid to speak out, because often to speak out is to incur some pushback, and sometimes that pushback gets pretty heavy, and it takes courage of your convictions. We would not allow public indecency in other forms to be done in front of our children. And I guarantee you, and I think you know very, very well in your heart of hearts, that the majority of individuals do not approve of this. It is a phenomenon, for lack of a better word and for being kind, that has been thrown upon us in the last few years, 3-ish, especially in the last 6 months. And we must ask ourselves, what is this all about, and why now, and why so fervent? It's because people are afraid of being attacked, called uncaring, intolerant. We all understand the woke ideology, and this, make no mistake, is an ideology. It does not belong celebrated. And these individuals who partake, I believe they are just misguided, and they will at some point regret their actions, but nonetheless, they have been deceived in many ways. And it is not a kindness to tell them that something of this nature is okay. It is not a kindness to someone who wants to harm themselves or others to look the other way, or to go along because you don't want pushback. So I just would like you to rescind this. Thank you so very much for your time. I'm Trina. I live at 484 Irish Road. I too am speaking out against the drag queens and the promotion of it in downtown Indiana. Our once little loving town that I've lived in all my life, I've seen a continuous spiral downward in the spiritual aspect of everything going on. It's just going in the wrong direction. And no matter how much you want to accept
Evil is good, no matter what you want to label it, no matter how much you try to hide the real facts. You can't change the truth, and you can't say that you love and accept someone if you know that they are believing the lies of Satan, and the path for their soul is clearly one of forever constant pain and burning in hell. How can we say that we love someone if we're going to let them go against what our God in heaven has written in his word for us to follow? How can we say that we love someone if we let them change our children's genders? How can we say we love someone if they don't uphold the truth? You know, there is a way, this is in Proverbs, there is a way that seems right unto man, but its end is the way of death. And in Deuteronomy, we're reminded that a woman shall not wear anything that pertains to a man, nor shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all who do so are an abomination to the Lord your God. If you can clearly say that you can go home at night and live with peace in your soul, knowing that you are promoting this evilness in our little town, then God be with you. I do not believe that we can love evil or promote it, and I am here to go against that evil. I'm here to stand firm on God's word and to be a representative of what God has for us to do, not what man thinks is right. And that leads to death. Thank you very much for listening.
Greenwald, 1601 Philadelphia Street. Excuse me. First, real quick, Chief. Officers are visible. Some of my neighbors and myself noticed one of your officers up around the nursery school and Eisenhower on a bicycle, very visible. That's a real positive. Now, what I came for, ironically, now I find out ties into this. This council, certain people on this council have made your reputation well known in this whole county because I believe I, more than any of you, talk to people of all social status all over this county, which you people don't. I've heard so many things about Indiana Borough and particular people, which just made all the news here recently, some now, some before. So this council needs to take a sharp look at itself. You represent Indiana Borough, not a select group in a select block area of this county and this town, because you're getting a really bad reputation. In conversations this past week, I was thinking about coming to this, and bam, certain people's names came up without me even mentioning them. And then some of the words and descriptions of this council, I cannot in polite society repeat. And what these folks said here, like I said, I didn't come to address that, but that's part of a continuing thing with this council, addressing their own personal agendas, not the public. Simple as that. Shape up, or let's get rid of some of these council people ASAP at this next election. And thanks again to your officers for being out there.
Moving on, I don't believe we need an executive session, do we?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Committee reports, administration. The administration committee did not have an agenda.
Have are to move to formally recognize the creation of a comprehensive plan steering committee for the Tomorrow Together Indiana 2030 project.
You have background on that in your package. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Is for the M&T Bank proposal. I would like to move to accept the financing proposal letter from M&T Bank regarding energy and equipment upgrades to the George E. Hood Municipal Building. I'll need a second on that.
That information is in your packet as well. You've got a chance to look at it. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
The third and last motion is the pension request for proposal. The requested motion is to move to advertise a request for proposal, inviting firms to submit a proposal for the investment management and custody of the Indiana Borough Pension Investment Funds. I'll need a second on that.
You all know that this has been made necessary by the fact that the people who've been running our pension plans were recently bought out and are not going to be doing it anymore. So we need to get somebody else. But as we read in the paper today, we're in good shape.
Question on that. So do we have to get it or does it transfer? Or do we just want to take this opportunity to look around?
An attorney, he said this would be the best practice to follow, to put it out there for RFP. And then if the people that bought Huntington, if they want to bid on it, they can to submit the proposal.
Anything else? Any more discussion of this? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And is there anything else from administration? Probably not, because we didn't do anything at the meeting. Except present those. Community development.
It was great to have sort of DI representation back at the community development meeting. We also had a long conversation about the comp plan and the Indiana 2030. It's up and running. You guys have information in your packets. Please take a look at that. Please engage with the website. Please encourage your constituents to engage with that, with the planning process for that. Because this will sort of guide what we're doing for the next probably 5 years after we get it finally done here in 2024 or so. The other sort of noteworthy thing is that we did remove a blighted garage. We used ARP funds to do that. So we're working on sort of the handful of blighted properties that are throughout the borough, both through that mechanism as well as through legal mechanisms. There's a number of coming attractions, the flag policy, obstructions to right of way, which would be with the plantings in the tree lawn is what we're referring to there. Amusement devices and tree grates will all be kind of coming forward in the next month or two. And then we do have a motion regarding Duncan. So we move to approve the development of Duncan at 680 Locust Street upon complete review and approved zoning. Sorry, upon a complete and approved zoning review. And this is coming from committee, so it does not require a second, but happy to answer questions.
Be adjusted at some point if more traffic is going on.
One of the things that we're sort of stipulating would be a traffic study to go along with this. You guys do have a report from Stewart Group in your packet. I would note the date on that is from April. So the vast majority of those things, I think Nicole can correct me if I'm wrong, have been communicated to the representatives from the Duncan folks from Heartland. Yeah. And so I think we've checked most of those boxes, but there is a traffic study recommended there. I don't know if it'll be adjusted, but it'll be looked at.
Yeah. Just a curiosity. What does this traffic study exactly show? Just literally the number of people that frequent that intersection? Is that what that's for?
Chief, do you mind? You've had us do a couple of these. I hate to catch you off guard, but do you mind just describing a traffic study?
Just in general, not this specific, just is there kind of a catch-all? This is what that is?
If our officers were to do a traffic study, we would assess vehicle counts, we would assess vehicle speeds, crash data at intersections. And then we present that neighborhood canvas for concerns of the neighborhood. As I said before with Duncan, I don't have a mechanism to proactively project what a traffic flow would look like. PennDOT very much may, but our traffic studies locally are speeds, volumes, neighborhood canvas, and crash data.
I guess what do we get out of it again, if we don't have a way?
You have the study done, but it sometimes could be reviewed by engineers to determine, okay, we anticipate X number of cars being at this site. So it would pick some of that up as well. But it's not, yeah. Yeah.
Timing on the light or something like that. That's what that would be for.
It's not 100% foolproof because, you know, you're gonna have busier times, but the intent is to try to get a clearer picture as to what the traffic impact would be as a result of that structure.
I think there's a whatever sort of crystal ball gazing we can do, but there's also the reality after there, depending on how successful it is, and we wish them the best of luck. You know, there may be repercussions for that intersection, which then everyone has the vested interest in traffic moving through there quickly and safely, so we can always adjust those lights down the line based on changes in traffic flow.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Carries. Anything else for community development? Questions? Vicky is next.
We met on Thursday, May 18th. Among the things we finally got to give the oath of office to Officer Kennedy Allen, which was, it's always nice. And three of our detectives, Jeff Atherton, Leroy Anderson, and Andrew Perry, all received exceptional service medals based on their interactions and work with that major drug bust that was done a few months ago that turned out to be multi-state involvement. And we had approved hiring Jeremy Adamson, and he's been offered a conditional offer of employment. And an update, the countywide radio upgrade, recently 55 individual radios were purchased, 25 car radios, 6 base radios. And again, this is going to make it so the police departments in this county can actually talk to each other in case of emergency, which is not doable with the old system. The Kennel Club of Philadelphia paid $10,000 towards the purchase of Scott, the new bloodhound comfort and search dog that we have. And we have one motion that needs to be done. It's coming out of public safety. Move to approve the closure of the 0 block of Courtway, and Courtway is the little alleyway between the old Pittsburgh National Bank and the old courthouse. It doesn't show up on Google Maps. But the 0 block of, they want to close the 0 block of Courtway at the request of Ace Hardware from 5 o'clock to 7 p.m. on August 18th, 19th, and 20th. It's about a half block long little drive. Most people, if you use the PNC Bank drive-through when the bank was there, that's the only time people usually go down that street. So I just need, we need to have a vote on that. No second necessary.
Only close it for 2 hours a night.
Those times are wrong. It's all the next day, on that Saturday, it's all day.
At 5 p.m. on Friday,
Okay,
and it
I-
extends
I
through 7
expected
p.m.
it.
on Sunday, yes.
Yeah, so it'd be 5 through 7.
Right.
It'll be for the weekend.
Any other
Thanks.
discussion? I just think it's wonderful. We're gonna have a hardware store.
Yeah, it's looking nice.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, and one last item, because the vacation times and such, the public safety meeting next week will not be on Thursday, but it will be on Monday, June 12th at 7 PM here in council chambers. So public safety will be meeting Monday, June 12th at 7.
Any questions for public safety? Seeing none, public works. Sarah?
Since Gerald's not able to be with us tonight, I'm going to report that the major thing that we did last Monday night was to open the bids for the HVAC upgrades to the community center. And we were surprised, we're used to seeing some variation in bids. But when the low bid is less than $30,000 and the high bid is almost $150,000, we asked the engineer from Stifel McGraw to check with the low bidder and make sure that he had taken into account what was in the bid proposal. And he did, and they had. And so it's absolutely kind of delightful to be able to recommend that we accept the bid of H.L. Thomas for the mechanical construction part of the upgrades for $28,465,000.
Is it time for the question? So it doesn't need a second, correct? Okay. Bid on these. Do they, I'm not sure what the process is for the borough. Does the borough, I mean, I know the engineer spoke to them, but like references and things like that. As a contractor, that's dramatic. That's me. I'd look at that and be like, I would wonder, I know you checked with them, but like. Yeah, but insurance isn't a reference.
Additional information, and the engineer has reached out to them again and followed up with some procedures, and they signed an agreement with us, so that's the cost.
Contracting, the inability to perform the task. Right? The agreement doesn't make you suddenly know how to do it.
Unless we have a prior experience with them, we have to,
And I'm not familiar with the,
and that we really could not go with the lowest, yeah.
It's been satisfactory.
I had to ask the question, because like Sarah said, that is dramatic. That's like a mulch bid without mulch, like, I don't know. It's-
Need to vote? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
The electrical part of the upgrades, we only had one bidder, Sheasley Electric, and but that's a company even that we've done business with before. It's a local company, and
She's like,
Mhm.
all right, because on the typed out, it says
Oh, it says
HL
Shealy,
Shealy.
yeah.
I want to make sure it was the same company.
On that,
Reading off of the agenda. That's the only reason I asked. No worries.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And the third action is that in our continuing work on Marsh Run and improving conditions around that area, the quarterly report was submitted and the special study that we're engaged in has been updated, and it now needs to be advertised for public comment. And it's so that we can then proceed to submit it to DEP. And the Public Works Committee recommends that we advertise and ask for comments on the plan, particularly perhaps from householders who live near Marsh Run, and move forward.
Okay, any questions about this motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
And you can see that all of the public works crews have been very busy. And Roland has provided us with his usual thoroughly comprehensive report. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Sarah. The works committee. Back up here. Shade Tree Commission, yes.
The arborist and the person from the borough that does the new parks thing weren't at the meeting, so not much was discussed.
Right. All right.
Is the Eisenhower continual use hearing before work session?
Because we've done it at 6 sometimes. Figure it's gonna be faster.
Sidewalk program is up and running and we are getting tons of calls. So it's a really good thing. Our code inspectors are out talking to a lot of people inspecting sidewalks. Kyle and I and Trajan are meeting with Sam, speaking of Sam Kinley from DI, we're kind of once a month, we're meeting with him. Monday was our first meeting and just going over all the activities, trying to come up with maybe a community calendar, like where people can see online what events and everything that's happening. Because people want to maybe get IRMC Park, but they don't know if it's already, taken for that day or something. So we're kind of coming up with some brainstorm ideas. I do have a staff meeting tomorrow. I know Peter comes in and sees my board and we try to update that board. There's a lot going on. I said the summer is very busy. Our public works is out there busy. Our parks department is very busy. I just met with Bob Krasan and Ryan and Barb Haig on the South 7th Street. Josh Rosenberger, the 700 shop, they want to get involved in the sidewalk program. So it's a perfect time to redo some of those trees down there. A lot of trees in that area are dead, so they're going to replace them and we're going to do nicer tree pits with the grates. And obviously we're looking a lot into the grates for the uptown, for the dining area. And that's all I have.
Sir, thank you. I believe I have an equally brief report today. Calls for service were not in this council packet. They'll be in the June 20th council packet, just based on the proximity to the end of June in this meeting. I thank the Public Safety Committee for the reconfigured meeting of public safety on June 12th. It will be a full meeting. It'll just be a Monday as opposed to a Thursday. Warm weather is upon us, so I generally just want to say that we're experiencing increased traffic. With schools out, we're experiencing increased pedestrian traffic. Mac Park's open. We're experiencing an increase in young people pedestrian traffic. And so just ask again for our community, everyone, to take note of your neighbors, care for everybody, go slow, be patient through town. If you see anything suspicious, please report it to the police immediately. And, we can certainly investigate a crash, but I would rather avoid it entirely than have to investigate it. So, but those are all very positive things, and the weather forecast looks like it's going to be nice for the next week or so. Also, there just a general FYI for council. I've been advised there's softball/baseball tournaments in Indiana this weekend using several fields around. So there will be additional traffic through town. And then finally, as a traffic update, we are conducting an escort for Summit Church's Starlit Night, which is tomorrow. That will be between 5 and 5:30. I would expect anywhere between 150 and 200 cars to be proceeding down Philadelphia Street from west end of town to Mac Park. It's a very positive event. I'm sure that our community members, at least a large number, will be on the sidewalks waving and cheering for the participants. But traffic will be slow through town. I'm certain of that, for at least a half hour, 45 minutes. So again, extra patience tomorrow night when you're traveling through town, to let us get that escort through town. Other than,
What that path is?
it is West Philadelphia Street to Sixth Street. And then it is south on Sixth Street to the entrance of Mac Park. And then it is into Mac Park track / pavilion area. I'm sorry, not pavilion, the amphitheater area, Mac Park.
It was 5 to 5:30, right?
The procession will start between 5 and 5:30.
But it will last a little longer than that, yes.
It will be extensive through town in the most positive way, I believe. And other than that, sir, I have no other update to give.
Mr. Solicitor.
Working with Nicole, and the planning office, Brenda, on some of the structures that we've talked about. We've reached agreements with some folks to assist in, tearing down some blighted, structures. We are working, we've started the process of negotiating with the police union. That has started, so we're working through that. We have a first meeting coming up, I believe, the end of the month, possibly with the union. So we're looking for a very positive negotiation session there. And really, that's all I have at this point. I do want to thank Chief Shaw. The Indiana High School baseball team is playing in the state quarterfinals on Thursday. And I know that Chief Shaw and the Indiana Fire Association, I believe, are going to provide the team bus and escort. They play at Mount Aloysius College. That will be going through town, I believe, Chief, approximately 2:00. They're supposed to leave the school at 2:00. So, if you can drive over to Mount Aloysius, it's 45 minutes. It's the first time in school history that they've won a state playoff game. So they're one of 8 teams left in the state in 4A. If you can't, then tune in on our friends with Render Media. It'll be on the radio and it'll be live streamed on the computer. So it's really exciting. So,
School, 2 p.m. What day?
For the solicitor? Jen, it's your big moment.
Brief as well. I'm going to stay in line with everyone else. So we recently selected Stephanie McGowan to serve as the new dean of the College of Education and Communications. I'm sure we'll have an announcement here soon as well on the new dean of the Eberly College of Business. That has not been announced quite yet. The Rural Healthcare Podcast new episode is out. It's featuring Kopchak Hall and interview from our Dean Steve Hoven. You should have received an invitation from us regarding the community input needed for the Long Range Facilities Master Plan process. So the Smith Group will be on campus next week. Tuesday evening is that public session from 6 to 7:30, and that's at the KCAC in the PNC room. So I encourage all of you to come and share your thoughts about our campus and what our footprint might look like in the future. Local alumni are all invited to campus on the 23rd over at the Breezdale Alumni Center from 5 to 8. So it's bringing back what was a long-standing alumni traditional event for the Indiana County folks and trying to bring that back and having everyone back on campus. Department of Theater, Dance, and Performance has the Summer Youth Theater Program Footlight Players, runs again from June 19th to July 15th. And then on July 15th, we are hosting IUP night at PNC Park. So far, we have beat ticket sales, we beat WVU. So we are doing outstanding. We have a large contingency of alumni that are going to be in the Gold Lot, tailgating beforehand, along with the co-op store. We'll have some of our alumni tents there. We'll be in the left field lounge from 6 to 7 before the game starts. It's firework night. And I've been told Levity Brewing's actually going to be at the brewery across from the entrance to left field lounge, waving their IUP flag. So come out, buy your tickets. You can get them through the Major League Baseball Pirate website. July 15th. Oh, for anybody that registers for us, you get a bucket hat. It is a reversible Pirates IUP bucket hat, so.
Any questions for Jen? It's me now. It's starting to feel like summer and the town is brimming with activity again. Third Thursday was well attended and enjoyable. The Delaney Chevrolet West Sylvania Jazz and Blues Festival, a long name, was a rousing success again this year. Indiana Theater has come alive and all kinds of things are coming up soon. June is Pride Month. There's already been one big event in the theater. And next week, festival in IRMC Park. We will soon have a hardware store in Indiana, the first in the borough for several years. Tables are showing up on the sidewalks outside of restaurants, and you see people enjoying themselves everywhere. Want to congratulate Kyle Mudry on another successful May Mart booth for the Stormwater Education Partnership, which the borough is part of. There was a lot of interest in learning about stormwater issues. And there was even more interest in winning a rain barrel.
We gave away 9 and we gave away another one to the garden club to give away if they're.
An increasing number of residents are going to be using rainwater for their gardens instead of directing it into the storm sewers. Of course, not everybody who got a rain barrel but lives in a borough, but it all adds up.
And we need to have rain to use the rain barrel.
Well, yeah, that would help too.
On a drought, but we're approaching a drought.
I want to encourage everyone to participate as much as possible in the ongoing discussion of the comprehensive plan. And I also think, echoing Jen, it would be good for as many of us as possible to participate in IUP's long-range planning discussion next Tuesday. As we all know, whatever IUP does affects all of us. It'll be interesting to see whether that plan actually produces something. The last one, about half of it got implemented, I think. I worked on that committee for a few years. Finally, I want to remind council members of the code of ethics we adopted last November. I particularly want to call attention to paragraph 3 titled "The Conduct of Members," and I quote, "The professional and personal conduct of members while exercising their office must be above reproach and avoid even the appearance of impropriety. Members shall refrain from abusive conduct, personal charges, or verbal attacks upon the character or motives of other members of council, boards, commissions, and committees, the staff, or public," end quote. And then finally, please remember that next month, we will not be meeting on the first Tuesday after the first Monday, because that day is Independence Day. Our meeting is scheduled for July 11th, the second Tuesday. That's all I have.
I also would like to open a discussion about what happens if a member of council continuously violates the code of conduct. And what is the enforcement mechanism? You know, this is something to think about. Is council prepared to actually follow through with what we said? So yelling expletives across the table or following somebody out of the room, yelling expletives at them after a council meeting, I feel like it's well beyond the code of conduct. This is actually very. This goes to committee, or if we just discuss, is anyone interested in what happens if we enforce that? What does that look like? Or are we just gonna have this document and not?
How does it get documented?
It's on the, I don't have page numbers on mine, I apologize. On the second to last little tab on my code of conduct that Casey sent out, it said, councilman, if I may read it. Council members who intentionally and repeatedly do not follow proper conduct may be reprimanded or formally censured by council, lose committee assignments or other privileges afforded by the council. Individual council members should point out to the offending council member perceived infractions of the code of ethics. If the offense continues, then the matter should be referred to the president for action. If the president is the individual whose behavior, it's not, sorry, I mumbled there. Give me a second. If the president is the individual whose behavior is questioned, then the matter should be referred to the vice president. It is the responsibility of the president or vice president to initiate action if the council member's behavior may warrant sanction. If no action is taken by the president or vice president, then alleged violations can be brought up by any member for review by council. A board committee and commissioning members, counseling, verbal reprimands, and written warnings may be administered by the president to the board, committee, and commission members failing to comply with borough policy if directed by a majority of council to do so. That is it's behavior and conduct is what that was.
Discussed during public or executive meetings. Okay, because if things are taking place in public where there are witnesses and they're reiterating and advertising.
React becomes a personnel. There were some other borough employee who did something quite publicly, but we were going to take action. We would do that in executive session.
For clarity, if we are sanctioning someone, what does it mean if it's an executive session? I mean, that's a reprimand with no repercussion. If that was the.
Committee would be taken away.
I defer to Pat on this, but there's a limited amount that we can do. Because when people are elected, they're beholden to the people who elected them.
What about people who are appointed?
Oh, that's different. As a council member, you are, whether you're an appointed or an elected one.
Yeah, it's irrelevant whether you're an elected council person or an appointed. I think when it's referencing appointed positions, I think you're talking about your borough manager, your solicitor, police chief, those type of positions.
Yep.
As far as to answer Luke's question, I think your discussion can occur in an executive session, but you would then be able to come out of the meeting and have a motion to vote on something.
Right.
You know, if you wanted to censure one of your members, a motion could be made. If you have a second, then there's discussion. I mean, that would all have to happen in public.
Right.
I believe the president of council has the ability to remove people from committees though.
Yep.
Because you appoint them to
Sure.
committees. So you could do that
So that part of it.
of your own accord if you chose. So it's. All the ins and outs in the public session, but certainly you could take a vote to censure or reprimand one of your members in public.
If we wanted to do that, an executive session, I mean, what would be the appropriate? Because obviously if the discussion is supposed to be private, it's probably should be private leading up to the discussion. And would that be an appropriate way to paraphrase?
Any member shows for that purpose, the request would be made to the president of council. And under the guideline of it being a personnel matter.
Or to make it on the agenda, for example.
Go on the agenda. Technically, I think it could be requested at a council meeting.
It could be, yes.
Anything else?
To look at that and move forward in a positive way and not have to enforce this.
Mr. Mayor.
I thought I got bumped there for a minute, but that's all right. I spent a lot of years working with pension plans and talking about the RFP, which is a request for proposal. It doesn't always have to happen just because of maybe a company not doing it any longer. It's something that should be reviewed on a more, I don't know, couple year basis, just to make sure that you're getting the right type of service, that the fees are correct, and that your selections to investments are what you want it to be. So going forward, we don't, whoever gets it, whatever company gets it in the future, it's not a bad idea to review that every once in a while. And I just wanted to bring that up as we were talking about it tonight. Second thing is the chief and I are now having lunch again on Philadelphia Street. Yeah, so you're more than welcome to join us at any time. And speaking for someone who spoke from the public, we do talk to people. Not only business owners, but we talk to folks who pass by and they don't hesitate to tell us how they think, positive or negative, doesn't matter, but we're doing it. And so it's very interesting. And so anybody that ever wants to join us, please call and let us know. And we'd like to do it on Thursdays, but we're very flexible. And the other thing I'd like to do is if we could take a moment to stand, I'd like to recognize J.D. Varner, who passed away, who was a past mayor. Very good. Thank you. That's all I have. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor. Any old business? Is there any new business?
How do we respond to the public when they come forward with requests? I've been trying to figure that out. I don't know if this is the time to ask, but
Response to statements from the public, if they can attend a committee meeting that's dealing with the issue, then we do have interaction at those.
I think we've all probably wondered it once upon a time, and the public comments at the beginning and the meeting is at the end, or when you leave. If we wanted to direct them to the correct committee, what would be the appropriate way to get that information to them as they may leave after public comment? Is there any, I mean, I don't know.
I have sometimes when it's something very specific, been able to say, take this to XY committee.
And we've in the past, we've done it where Nicole would get their information or
Yes,
and address it to that
Right.
committee that.
I remember you doing that now that you point that out.
Anything else?
You put on the agenda, you just have to let Kyle know, like, we can put it under, new business, but it's nice to actually have it on the agenda according to the sunshine, like, the.
There's nothing else. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I support that.